Welcome to What's a Beautiful Life Anyway? I'm your host, Jill Bennett. This is the channel that shares ideas to help you live your best life, because life can be beautiful if you live consciously. Welcome to this week's edition of What's a Beautiful Life Anyway? I'm absolutely delighted today to have with me Humera Cox. Humera is the founder of Explore Your Destiny. She is a rapid transformational therapist, an NLP practitioner, and an mBIT coach. Welcome, Humera.
Thank you. Hello.
Really lovely to have you here with us today. Now, Humera is a bit nervous, but you're going to be fabulous, Humera, so don't even think about it, you'll be fine. This podcast is all about living your best and your most beautiful life, and to do that, it's key that we feel we deserve a good life, and many people don't, even if they couldn't actually voice that, if they couldn't actually say that they don't feel they deserve it, or they don't recognize that that's what they're thinking. It could be completely unconsciously. Why is that?
That quite often comes from our childhood. We have a block, and all these blocks are in our subconscious mind. And when a trigger is set, anything that happens while we're living our daily life, our mind goes to our subconscious, and there's a trigger there. And that trigger then goes back normally to our childhood, anything between the age of 2 to 10, or even older than that. So we quite often call that self-sabotage. So we've heard that, we've acquired it way back. And it just keeps clicking into our head every single time. And it just stops us. It's like that little monkey on our shoulder that tells us that, oh, do you know what? You're not good enough. You don't deserve it, And you heard that when you were a child. It doesn't necessarily mean you heard it from your parents. It could have been something that happened from school, parenting, from anything.
For a peer group, and I think something I say often on this podcast is that parents do the best they can with the tools that they have at the time. So sometimes we all, especially my age group, heard messages as a child that money doesn't grow on trees, and I'm not made of money, and you have to work really hard to get money into your life, which we know all of those are untrue. But our parents didn't do it to be spiteful or to harm us. But those messages can really have an effect on you as you are an adult.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, parents went along with what they knew, what their parents taught them, and their parents taught them. And the world has changed. We can gain knowledge from the internet. We can read there's so many self-help books as well. In those times there wasn't, and nobody heard of the limited not a lot of people heard of limited beliefs, and language can really affect the children. When we say to our kids, oh God, tidy your room up, you're so lazy. That word lazy is connected with procrastination, but you're not lazy, you just don't like doing it. A lot of us don't like doing
it. And I know when my children were young, I was taught to try and separate the behavior from the person. So instead of saying you're stupid or you're lazy, you would say, well, that was a silly thing to do. Not you're stupid, but that was a silly thing to do. Or, well, it makes you look as if you could be lazy, or it's lazy not to tidy your room, rather than throwing it on the child. But again, it's easier with hindsight to think of how you can say those messages. But in the moment, as a parent, when you're confronted with a bedroom that maybe you cleaned the day before and suddenly it's completely trashed, it's really hard to think in the moment of the correct way of phrasing something.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, parents these days are under so much stress. with COVID, with children's mental health, we don't know if, I mean, when my son was younger, I was like, is there something wrong, or is this just a part of growing up, you know, having tantrums and everything like that. So it is really difficult. It's what I think everybody says it's a difficult job, you know, got to look out for them and trying to understand what is happening as well. And there is a massive age gap between us and our children as well. So the way we were brought up, the way we saw life is no longer the same. So everything around us and them are constantly changing. Yeah. So I would always say to parents, look, don't be so hard on yourself, you know. It's what we call, it's not permanent. It will pass, but there are children out there that really do need a lot of help, advice, and families, you know, parents as well, which is perfect, you know, which is fine. It's not as anything. I think sometimes quite often we feel in order to get help, we feel like a failure ourselves if we go out and get help, which is not true, because the never do, or read a book on self-help, on you know, or just get some help and advice. There's no shame in it, and we do think that quite often.
And I think being a parent, you're right, is one of the hardest jobs you'll ever have. And I know when I was a pet, when mine were younger, I'm still a parent. I did a couple of parenting courses because I wouldn't do a job without learning how to do a job. And to me, being a parent was that really important job. Humera, tell us, what sort of people do you help?
I help from a range. I help children and adults. At the moment, I've been working with children from the age of 10 right up to 16 with anorexia, eating disorders, depression, as well as suicidal thoughts as well. With adults, it's more anxiety. Children also anxiety as well, because they're suffering quite a bit, and a lot of confusion with children as well. Adults are confused as well.
Yes.
With adults, it's also weight issues, depression, anxiety, very, very low self-esteem as well. I think the key thing is quite often we just don't feel good enough. So we're constantly saying the word, I'm worthless, I'm not good enough. And we need to change that language to say, I am worth it and I am good enough. So the key thing is, first, is working on people's self-esteem. I work on addiction as well, drinking, smoking as well. But again, it always boils down to the low self-esteem, language we say to ourselves as well. And
what is RTT?
Well, what RTT is, and I use this on myself because I had therapy 3-4 years ago, and it just unfortunately wasn't working. And also it was taking way too long. So I just happened to Google and it came up with Marissa Peers, and I thought, okay, you know, I'll see what this is like. And within 90 minutes, it was quite shocking how I managed to get to a issue problem that I had that was really blocking me and stopping me from living, you know, the life I should be living. It was holding me back, and I didn't even realize at the time what was holding me back. But when I got to the root cause of it, I was quite really shocked how I was empowered and how everything had been lifted off my shoulders, you know. So RTT is it's contains hypnosis, and it's all the good parts to hypnosis, and we go back to the childhood. Your mind, your clever little mind, will take you wherever it needs to go to the event where you first had that issue. And it's all about empowering people. It's finding it the emotional link and the issue. So we always have to go to the root cause. It's not something that you stick a little plaster on top and hope it'll go away.
Sorry.
Bless you. And it's not about sticking a plaster on the top, because it's you have to get those emotions out no matter what.
Yeah.
And when you get them out, then there's a sense of freedom. There is a sense of a massive weight has been lifted, and allowing that, and that they are the empowerment. It's about empowering people to look at their past and say, okay, you know, that was me when I was 6, 7, 8, and that's not me now.
Yeah.
I'm an adult, or I'm, even if with children, you know, you're 15 years old, you're now completely different to when you were 7, whatever you did, or 5. So it's and it's fast, it's rapid, because let's face it, I don't fancy, I personally have time to go every week to a therapist, and I'm not discrediting anybody, for years and years. So quite often a lot of people, they don't have the time to do that, but the effect is absolutely, you know, amazing and awesome. So within one session for me, I was just like really shocked how it you know, worked, and it empowered me to, you know, then empowered me to become a therapist. So I thought, oh,
Which is amazing. And I hear that from a lot of people who had rapid transformational therapy and then went on to become a therapist. What's an mBIT coach? I don't think I've heard of an mBIT coach before.
mBIT was something I trained last year with a lovely guy called Chris Bell. He lives in Bristol. And I actually didn't know what it quite was when I did the course. I thought, I've just tried, you know, I roughly know what it was. So it talks about our 3 intelligence. We have 3 intelligence, and that is our head intelligence, our heart, and our gut. And basically, we need to either connect them together. We need to make them work for us. So our heart could be saying something else. Our gut is our intuition. So it could be saying something else. You know, when we get that gut intuition, that is, our gut has a memory as well, and our heart has a memory. So it's an emotion in our heart, and our mind is for thinking and learning. So when they're not connected, our head starts saying, you know, that don't do this, you're an idiot, what are you doing? But our heart is for purpose, and our heart is saying, I want to you know, maybe become an artist, but my head is saying, don't be ridiculous, you're not any good at it, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be something. But because from our childhood we've been kind of told this is the way, the path. So, and our gut intuition is so important, because that helps us, guide us, you know, it gives us guidance to also help us reconnect and we have to be one. We cannot just have a head space. We've got to have a heart space and a health space. Some people call it, and I quite like this, a mindset, a heart set, a soul set, and a health set. So our soul could be spiritual set.
Yeah.
And when you combine all those, your health as well, you are then, I call it living a very purposeful life, living a good life, you know, and moving on from the past into the now and living the more now. And I think,
and what is mBIT? Is it an acronym? Does it say? Is it short for something?
it's mBrain.
Oh, mBrain.
Yeah,
Okay.
mBrain. Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, because there's not many therapists I haven't heard of.
It's more for coaching as well, you know, and I just think it'd be lovely if our politicians could actually listen from their hearts, you know.
Yes.
Their heads, or yeah, I think when I think a lot of leaderships as well, a lot of CEOs, leaderships are now recognizing mental health in the workplace, that they just cannot treat their staff like robots and you know, and make them sit there work, which I used to do. It didn't do me any good. It may have benefited the company, but me personally, it didn't. It really damaged my health as well in the process. So we need leaders to recognize that person in front of you is a human being. They have a personal life, and that personal life can, you can't just leave it at the door, and it can affect you at work as well. So combining RTT, NLP as well, there are parts of NLP that is fantastic, which I love, and the mBIT is giving the person a whole, the body, the mind, and the soul, we call it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It's a great idea. Now, how I like to sometimes think about the way people work, we all know what a thermostat does. So we have our central heating, and someone opens the door and cold air comes in, and the thermostat kicks in because the temperature's dropped, and it will work. Your heating will come on until it brings you back up to the level you've set your thermostat at. And many people will start to be successful in an area of their life. Maybe it's building a business, maybe it is a level of fitness, a level of income, or even weight loss. But something will happen, kick in, when they reach their goal, and they will immediately drop back. So I've heard people talk about reaching an income goal, but then suddenly something happens, things start going wrong, and they either give the money away, or they have major disaster on their home and they have to spend it, or they have to take time off work and their income drops again to the level they've always been at. You find this actually with lottery winners. So people might win millions on the lottery, but within a few short years, that money's gone, and they are back to the situation they were in prior to their win. So why is that happening, and how could you help someone?
It's self-sabotage. It's also they don't believe that they deserve it, because again, from the childhood, we were quite often, we heard from, everywhere, from television, from our environment, that, you will never be wealthy. You will never, be, you'll always be the same weight, and you have a DNA,
it's in your genes.
your genes. Yeah, your mother was like this, your father was like this,
And in our family, no one's ever had an office job. Everyone's always had a manual job.
That's right. And also, it's if we succeed and our family hasn't, then we have this thing in us saying that I would lose them. Basically, I wouldn't. They wouldn't want to know me. So we charge ourselves in doing that. And it's like, I've had many people say, look, I've lost all this weight, but my person, and somebody goes, oh, your personality's changed. It hasn't really. You've just lost weight. But when you hear that enough times, you believe it. So, and that's a key thing. We believe it. So in order, what RT does really well, we have to change that belief. So we have to change that language. First, acknowledge it where you first heard it from, and then we start changing that language. That yes, we do have every right to be a millionaire, or be a billionaire, or be happy. They don't deserve to be happy because their parents either might not be happy, or things. So it's afraid it's all to do with a lot to do with our belief system, and we need to help. I help people change that belief so they can lose weight and sustain that weight. I've been there myself, where I've reached it and then I've gone back again. But now that I know how it all works, and how the mind and the habits, those habits, work as well, then I can say, oh, you become self-aware. And that's what it does, become self-aware. When you see that cake, you become self-aware, and you realize that you are in control, not somebody else. And quite a few people find that hard to believe, that you can control your thoughts and your habits. So I can say to myself, right, I choose not to eat that cake, but I can have it in 2 weeks' time when I'm going out. And it empowers you, because then you think, oh, I'm in control. Go ahead, and we all will go, oh, no, go and just have that. you know, but if you take control of that language and your thoughts, then your feelings and your actions will follow. So yeah, and that's what we work on a lot in changing that.
Well, that's good. So I know you love to help people get unstuck so that they can move on with their lives in whatever area it is. And you also work on helping people setting goals so that they've got some purpose. How do you do that?
Yes, because quite often people are doing things that they don't really want to do, but they got into that area because it just happened, or from school, or from, you know, parents, or from families and things like that. I was an accountant for 30 years, and I knew it was, I didn't enjoy it as much, but I got stuck, I got trapped because it brought in money, and I didn't know what my purpose was. So I had to find what my purpose was, and it just happened to come along when I knew it was, I wanted to help people. I knew it was in that area, but I didn't know how, because I didn't want to become a doctor, and it's like that's that 7 years of studying. For me, it was like that's a bit too late. So what else could I do that could kind of be in that way? And that was become a therapist. So I just love what I do. It's so much more fulfilling, and to helping other people to see them move on as well. It's important to find your purpose, and that purpose, I do honestly believe, comes from the heart and not the head. The accountancy came from the head, because when you're an accountant, you'll earn lots of money and all this kind of stuff. And yes, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm not saying that at all. But it's I think in that I procrastinated a lot because it wasn't my purpose. So the purpose comes from the heart. So it's so important to find that purpose and then start setting goals in how you're going to get there, what you're going to do, and have a vision board. And visualize that every day through meditation. After you have an RTT session, you get a recording, which for adults is anything between 15 to 20 minutes. For children, it's 8 to 10 minutes. And it's really it's like a deep meditation with affirmations in it, and your goal. So it's personally to you. So you're visualizing whatever you want in life, and with weight is whatever weight you want to see, and how you want to see your body as well. Visualization is very, very powerful, you know, to in order for that to progress. That's what I do.
Yeah. So with RTT, you are taking people back to try and discover the event that made this particular issue or thermostat or whatever we want to call it happen. I mean, how often do you not discover what that trigger is? Because for some people, maybe their minds have completely blocked it out because it was traumatic.
Yes. Trauma is more like two emotions having on top of each other. So it's the emotions where two major things have happened at the same time, and we just can't cope with it. So we're always disassociated. We're not like reliving anything. It's like us watching ourselves on a movie screen, watching a film. So there's not been one time where I haven't been able to go there. And your mind, if it doesn't want to go there, it won't go there. It might go to another place that also happened, which has, affected you as well. But quite often people will go there because they know they're very comfortable that it's not going to harm them. Now, when people start crying and having, and all that, that is like super brilliant, because we need to cry. Otherwise it affects all our, if we keep that emotion inside of us, it's affecting all our other organs as well. It's sometimes in the gut, or I ask somebody, where is that emotion? Sometimes it's in their gut, in their stomach, sometimes it's in their heart, sometimes in their head. So releasing that is very very important. So there are techniques we've got quite a lot of techniques where if the memory isn't there, we use another technique to go to that place. So yeah, there's quite a few lots of techniques that we can use, because every single person is unique and some people cannot remember. So we use another technique, and then we start getting what we call the scenes, what is happening. And so we start going through that. We play detective, we find it, and also they make him. I don't actually put anything into anyone's head or anything like that. They will make the connection. It's so important for the client to make that connection.
Yeah.
See it, but it's not my place to say. So otherwise, I'll be installing that stuff into their head, thinking, oh well, I think it's that. No, it doesn't work like that. So it's very powerful.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's really, really powerful. When you think of disease, it is literally dis-ease. It's your body not being at ease, and there'll be some sort of trapped emotion, some event that's happened to you that's made something stay stuck in your body that's affecting your life. Humera, we are running out of time, so maybe you can just tell us, you've got a great offer for people listening that they can have a free discovery call with you. So tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, the discovery call is absolutely free. It can last from anything between 20 minutes to an hour. And from there, then you can make a decision whether you would like to, take the session on. And then what I'm also doing is the RTT plus the 2 coaching sessions as well together, because I think it's very important once we empower people so they can be coached afterwards as well. Otherwise, they're like, I don't know what to do now afterwards.
Yeah.
It's, to find them
Brilliant.
and to, move on as well and help even more with their beliefs and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess once you've unstuck one thing, it may well end up that there's something else there that hasn't quite come out as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Humera, thank you so much for talking to us today. We will put all your contact details in the show notes. So if people want to get hold of you, the information will be there. And maybe we'll get you on again in the future. It's really lovely to talk to you today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to this week's show. Check out all the links to the resources mentioned in today's episode and all my freebies in the show notes. See you next time.